Good morning. Don Cayley G, good morning. You got a whole posse with you, Don Cayley. Where are you? Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Don Cayley, where are you? Anyway, write me a note. Marlene, good morning. Leela, good morning. Leela changed her name. Lagovinda G and Brudge, that was so fun hanging out with you guys last night. Bobby G, good morning. Dana, I don't know where you are, Dana, but we got to hang out more. Daniel and Elizabeth, good morning. Jiva G, Vigets, good. Aramar, good morning. Yvette, good morning. Someone help me out with this microphone here. Where's Mara? Where's? I was like to Damodar, I was like, you're my new Mara. All right. He's trying to help. Okay, here's Damodar. Let's see. Kaustubha G, how are you?
Good morning,
Raghunath. Talking all day.
Yes.
Did I just mute myself? Lauren Carmen, good morning. Good hanging yesterday. Leslie Lotto, good morning. Tina, good morning.
I met Leslie Lotto last night at the
Kristen, good morning. Scott Bakos, give me a tattoo today. Margarita, good morning. Margarita, you got to come to Philly. Everybody's eating Italian food. Nicole, good morning. Nancy Rothman, good morning. Cabrera family, good morning. Ed McFarland, good morning. James Russell, good morning. Krutti, good morning. Mohan G from Finland, good morning. Buckman G, good morning. Lori, good morning. Courtney Bassett, how are you? Good morning. Kimber, good morning. Tom Essay, great job. Tom's working on the intros that sound really cool. Lindsay Scott, Texas, good morning. Oh my God, the Californians are here. Monterey Priya, what are you doing here? When the Californians are, when we do the show late, we call them the Californians or the others. The others show up. Good to see you guys. Mara G and Papa Tony. I don't know if anybody knows, but Papa Tony is Mara's father. We love this man. Urugaya, good morning. Nami, good morning. Ananda G, good morning. Man, there's people I miss. Casey, Mallory, good morning. Casey, good morning. Aaron Burdine, good morning. No, and Sil, good morning. Live from Palo Santo Wellness Yoga, it is our Super Soul Sacred Sangha. Welcome to the show. Look at this crew here. We have a nice little crew. I don't know if you can see. We had an incredible Zoom. I know you guys have one in New York, but we had like a whole Zoom party. Liam is here too. We had a whole Zoom party here. And you know what we did? In our ecstasy, we forgot to take a Zoom photo. Did everyone pick up on that? I met Zoom people I met some of the others last night, meaning the people that aren't on the live show. They're the others. They're there. They're in the periphery. They keep quiet. They watch the discussion thread, but they never write anything on it. They just observe. It's like all the people, if you have like 10,000 followers on Instagram, there's like 2,000 that like things, and there's like 8,000 that are just snooping around. The others.
Are you calling us?
Anyway, Kaustubha, how are you? How was the program at the Bhakti Center with the Bhakti Master? We have it in our lifetime. We have a Bhakti Master. Raghunath Swami's here. It's like I don't know why I'm just not in New York following his every footstep around. Serious. I'm dead serious. When you get people like that in the world, you got to find them out, search them out, drop everything you're doing, and get like a moment's time with them. You can't take that for granted. It's like incredibly valuable. So we got priorities all wrong. We have our priorities all wrong. Why we're not all there right now, like waiting outside his door. That is insanity. Because I don't have my head screwed on straight. That's why.
I'm not sure if he would like. I'm not sure if he would like that though.
You guys hear me?
If we were all waiting at his door.
Yeah, you're all at his door right now.
But in any case, it was wonderful. He gave an incredible class. Some nice analogies there. Maybe we could share them later on.
Yeah.
And beautiful kirtan. The place was totally packed. So there were like lots of Zoomers there, but like I could hardly get to them. You know, I met Leslie Lotto for the first time in person. That was great. Although it was
Lotto, great
crowd
name.
and
That's like a rock star name or
it is.
Hollywood name.
Yeah, and lots of others too. It was just a beautiful time. Very nice.
Nice. We had a great kirtan. Jeffrey Newberger showed off his mridanga techniques. Very impressed. And we just had a freaking big dance party here. It was one of those things, you know, where, you know, they want to dance, but they're sort of like moving in their chairs and sort of like, and it's building. And then all of a sudden one person just gets up, and, you know, and then it's like trigger, like pop, when the popcorn starts popping. It was like that. It's like, that's how I was thinking about, like a big popcorn dance.
Nice.
Because you had that popcorn.
Yeah. And then I was about to go see the Misfits, and I just said, you know what? I'm getting too old for this. It's like I fall asleep like at 9:30, and then what can I do? It's like my eyes go down. I just have no, I don't know, I'm like a child.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Okay. So
you want to hear the analogy? One of the analogies from last night?
Yeah, please.
This is what Raghunath Swami said. He said that actually there's two things. He was saying that he was describing how when he was a boy, he used to have to go out and shovel because he grew up in Chicago and it was like snow, like a lot of snow. It's very cold, and he would have to go out and shovel the snow, and it was just like the most miserable thing, you know. And he'd be listening to this music, you know, on these little headphones, like I said, the little transistor radios, and he would hear the Beach Boys, and they'd be singing about California and
that song would get me envious too. California Dreamin'.
He said, not California Dreamin', but well, I mean, yeah, that's California Dreamin', I suppose. But yeah, the Beach Boys, and he would think if there's a heaven in this world, it's California, you know. And there was different stuff about surfing, but he also talked about how he was driving in California sometime recently, and he was driving to Long Beach, and he mentioned Maduri because he was on the way to her yoga studio, and he was talking about this. He was seeing Long Beach and said it was a long beach. But he saw these people surfing, and he's like, what can I learn from this? What can I gain from this?
You can't surf in Long Beach, by the way, side note.
Oh, well, then maybe he was on his way to that beach or whatever, but he saw some surfers. Okay. And he said, the surfers are there and they're in that water, and the waves come. And those waves are totally unpredictable. You know, one's going to be bigger than the next, and this one's going to break this way, and one's going to break that way, and it's unpredictable. And the surfer has absolutely no control over the waves, right?
Good analogy. I like where this is going.
So they've accepted that they can't control the wave, but what they've mastered is how they respond to the wave, right? How they respond to the wave.
That's it.
Yeah. And so he said we all need to learn how to surf in life. The world's going to be throwing us. He mentioned that of some very high level business person, you know, person that's moving around literally millions and so on. And he said that this person was expressing to him that, you know, due to some change, you know, there are different changes in laws in different countries and tax codes and different things. And it's like, there's nothing he can do. Like he's losing millions of dollars, you know, and he can't do anything. And he said, do you know what I told him to do?
What?
He said, you have to learn to surf. Right? You can't change any of that, but how you respond to it, that's where you need to focus. How you respond to it, you know, in terms of your mind and emotionally, and how you respond to it in terms of your actions. But so he was saying we all need to surf. We all need to learn to surf.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What are these people doing with all these millions of dollars they're moving around? What are they buying? I can't even think. My wife just asked me this morning, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, nothing. I'm sick of consuming things. I mean, I can think of stuff. I can just make stuff up. I don't really want, don't need, right? What's there to buy? If someone could tell me something good to buy, I'll buy it. It's just nothing to buy.
You got your glasses now.
I could buy some glasses, yes.
Some indestructible glasses. Someone finds
Like some type of steel frames that like connect to my skull. It's like a helmet. Like a fishbowl. Oh, Krishna. What did you know what's going on in Philadelphia? Let me just share something with you if you're like unfamiliar with this little town, the city of brotherly love. There's like a bhakti renaissance going on here. It's like a full-blown bhakti renaissance. It's like me and Kaustubha were talking on the phone this morning. It's like we went to sleep and we woke up and everybody's practicing bhakti yoga. It's like unbelievable.
People are actually interested in this stuff.
Like in the old days, it was so like, you guys are a bunch of weirdos. And now it's like, oh yeah, Bach. I mean, you'd have to dance around the G word. You couldn't say God. If you said God, people were like, I'm out of here. God, I'm just here for yoga. It was like, I just said sweet baby Krishna all night. And everybody's like dancing. Everybody's chanting. Everybody's saying ki jai, jai, jai. It's like a whole jai all night long. Jai. It's like, what is going on here? Where have I been? Damodar. I give credit to Damodar and Rod and all their teachers. What did I do? I'm never here.
By your association.
By your associations.
That was everything.
Yeah, come on. Come on. And they have a Bhagavad Gita. How often do you have this? By the way, we're barging into their Bhagavad Gita class. They have a regular weekly Bhagavad Gita class at 7:30. And we've usurped it. And we're doing a Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Happily served.
Every week.
Happily served.
They do it every week. It's unbelievable. I'm really, really impressed. You know? When you speak holy things, your place becomes a holy place. Your apartment, your home, you have a holy home, a holy house. Your house becomes an ashram. It's a sanctuary. You just have to have the Gita always flowing, Hari Katha always happening, and then people want to come to you. They feel special in your place. You create an altar, you create some prasad, you give some prasad. It's amazing. It was like an incredible day. Lal Govinda came, made cookies. What a nice.
Warm-up kirtan.
We had a warm up. I walked into the kirtan I was supposed to lead. There's already kirtan going on. I was like, it's actually better than my kirtan. That was my thing. I was like, this is better than mine. What am I supposed to do now? You know, it's like when you're in a band when the warm-up band is better than you. It was like that. I was like, all right, I'll go. I'll take this down a notch. That was beautiful, Laura Zales. Okay, so we are in a very wonderful place because we're wrapping up this chapter-ish.
Lindsay's helping out over here. Text 50.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay, that's going to be your new job because you seem to be like really focused in this material world. You're just need people like that in my life. Okay, let's start with our invocation mantras. I'm trying to think if there's any other interesting things to add before we dive in. There was so much Hari. We just talked. We had Hari Katha like 6 hours yesterday.
Yeah, so many great questions.
Yeah, you know, truthfully, I barely got to even tell any stories because everybody had so many good questions. We just had questions, right? Okay, let's just start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of our conquest, one should offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become almost completely eradicated, and loving devotional service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established in the heart as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timurandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Milatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm grateful I'm here. Grateful. I heard a good thing by Prabhupada yesterday in a lecture.
What did he say?
Someone asked, Prabhupada, what if your spouse is not favorable to bhakti? This is a very common question I get. What if your spouse is not favorable to bhakti? He said, well, if your spouse is favorable, you'll make very rapid spiritual. What's that? He said, if your wife is favorable, you'll make or not your wife, but he said, if your spouse is favorable, you'll make very rapid advancement in your spiritual life. He said, well, what if they're not favorable? He goes, well, if they're not favorable, you'll become a pure devotee. Right? Does that make sense? Makes sense. Because you're forced to just like deal with everything and just deal with it and become all the stuff you pray for. Oh, please help me become compassionate. Help me become loving. Help me become sensitive. Okay, deal with this person. Well, I didn't mean it like that. I meant someone to cook for me. That's what I meant in my prayer. You're actually praying, right? I'm praying for compassion. I'm praying for sensitivity. I'm praying to be open-minded, broad-minded, loving from the heart. And then I deal with someone who doesn't agree with everything I say. And I can't deal with it. It's amazing, huh? It's amazing.
Got to learn to surf.
Got to learn to surf. Got to learn to surf. Text 50. Okay. This whole analogy is still going on. I don't mean to be offensive, but come on, tell me an exciting story. All right, Kaustubha, you're going to read today. Is that okay?
Yeah, what I'm going to do then, if
you're allowed, by the way, the previous rules was of the show was if the reader thinks, okay, you know what, I'm going to just condense this. You can condense it.
You're allowed to do that.
You're allowed. That's part of the rules when we established the show.
Then that's what I'm going to do today.
Do it.
So text, let's see, like 50. The next few texts are just describing these 9 gates of the body. So I'm just going to speed through them. And they also have these subtle things that to be honest, I really don't understand. Like he went there with his friend named this, and there's something very subtle and almost
there's subtle things that if you understand the Sanskrit language, it'll make something.
Sanskrit and even stuff about like subtle stuff about, I don't know, yoga and you know, anyway, I'm going to kind of speed through this a bit. You ready?
Yeah.
On the northern side, no, 50. On the southern, we talked about the mouth, which was on the eastern side, you know, the face. That was yesterday, text 49. So text 50, the southern gate of the city was known as Pitrihu. And through that gate, King Paranjana used to visit the city named Dakshina Panchala, accompanied by his friend Shrutadhara. And so...
Shrutadhara, but is the ears, because that means to hold everything that you hear.
That's the right ear. So if this is the east, then this is the south, right?
Right.
Okay, so the southern gate, that was the southern gate, Shrutadhara.
Keep going.
On the northern gate was the gate named Devahu. So this is going to be the left ear. Through that gate, King Paranjana used to go with his friend Shrutadhara to the place known as Uttara Panchala. So
interesting point here. The ear on the northern side, however, is used for taking initiation from the guru and for gaining promotion to spiritual sky.
So the guru whispers the Gayatri mantra into that ear.
Yeah.
The tricky part is there's other places in Prabhupada's books where it says actually that's the right ear. So, anyway.
I heard it in the wrong ear. What does that mean? By the way, it's so interesting how in this Vedic culture, the guru is implanting the mantra in your ear and thus in your mind. And it just sits in that mind. It's sort of been a theme of this stuff I've been talking about this week. It's like in our culture, in the culture of dented cans that we grew up in, the words that were placed in our ears, oftentimes from our parents, from our professors, from our teachers, from our, from kids in the neighborhood, are so like, they're not they're mantras, but they're like broken mantras. And they teach us wrong things about our identities, and they stay within our mind. Our feeling is our feeling of lack, or self-loathing, or I can'tness, and my brokenness, and they stay in the mind. Just like the guru gives that mantra, and the guru gives that mantra, and that stays in the mind. And from the time the child is small, they're chanting that mantra, and they're repeating that mantra, and that mantra is giving them potency and power and remembrance of their identity. But the sounds, the mantras that we have running through our mind, oftentimes are these mantras on a figure 8 loop of, I'm not worth anything, I'm broken, who would want me to do this? And we suffer from these mantras that just are lodged in the mind. And the practice of bhakti is to notice what mantras are there already that aren't serving us, and really just flush them out with new mantras. Like one thing, people were saying after the kirtan last night, they're just coming, man, I can't stop singing that song. I can't stop singing that melody. I can't stop. That's a win. That's a win for a yoga teacher. You walk out of the room and they're taking the kirtans, or the melodies of the mantra. Advertisers know this. They have this jingles. Name a jingle. Somebody name a jingle in this room. Any jingle. Come on. Liberty, liberty.
So much for your theory.
Right? There's liberties. Called J.G. Wentworth. That's right? All you need is a melody. And that thing gets lodged in the brain, and you're singing that throughout the course of the day. J.G. Wentworth, what was that? It's lodged in Sean Murphy's brain. All right. Yeah, I've got them in my head. And so these mantras rest upon these melodies, and also the tal, also the percussion. And what they do is they just get lodged within the heart / the mind, and they stay there, and they reside there, and they hold the mind, and they scrub the mind, and they do it almost subconsciously. And we also have these subconscious mantras that don't serve us, that are lodged in us and direct our lives. And sometimes we're even caught or in a prison from some mantra. Does anybody know what I'm talking about, or I'm just blabbing? You're like trapped in a prison of some mantras that are holding us back, and we can't even move forward in our life because there's so much negative talk or so much toxic thoughts in the mind. So yeah, this is interesting. The whole beautiful thing about the guru plants this in your ear. And we like to say, wherever we were yesterday, it's over. From today on, let's get some new mantras in our head. What do you say?
I'm into it. Where were you when your guru whispered that Gayatri mantra in your ear?
In Vrindavan.
Where in Vrindavan?
In Krishna Balaram Mandir, in the courtyard.
In the courtyard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great memory. It's like all those samskars, they're like impressions, right? They're impressions in the conscious, and they stay with us. When the guru gave you beads, when you're going on prick, and that's what we have to, as yoga teachers, that's what we have to do. We have to create a space, like they created a space here at Palo Santo, but it's filled with an impression. No one, if you've been here, you walk by it, and you feel it. Because with some skaras, they're scent, right? They're scent. All the senses are engaged. There's scent, there's taste, there's sound, and those leaves like impressions in our consciousness. It's what we do we do this in our teacher trainings. We do this in our pilgrimages. There's scent, there's sound, there's taste, and it leaves impression. And while you're doing that, there's sounds of truth going on. We hear wisdom literature. It's sounds of truth, and it resonates with something deep. No matter what our background is, truth resonates with our heart. That makes sense. This makes sense. Life makes sense. And we get a person to a place where this makes sense, and then we bombard their senses, and it holds them to this place. And then when they leave that place of spiritual stability and go back to wherever their world is, where things are breaking down, or there's a reversal in life, or there's a cul-de-sac in their world that they can't get out of, they remember those places, and it tethers them to a spiritual place. And this is what we're trying to do as yoga teachers, create a space and an environment that leaves an impression where people feel safe, and people can come for knowledge, and people stay connected when they're outside of the yoga studio. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It was reminding me once I was with my guru, Tamal Krishna Goswami, in Dallas. And he was recuperating from surgery. and he was kind of down for a while, you know, from that. And I was sitting in his room with him, and he was chanting his japa, chanting his mantras on his beads. And he said, you know, it looks like I'm here in Dallas, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm in Vrindavan right now. Right? In his mind, he had gone there because he had so many memories and thoughts of Vrindavan, you know, that he was sitting in that very spiritual place that where your consciousness naturally goes to sweet baby Krishna. And then a siren drove by, you know, like a police car or something like that drove by. So he said, he was saying, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sitting in Vrindavan. And then the siren went by and said, there's the peacocks. So you fill your head with enough of these, it's called udipana, this stimulus for something that stimulates your memory to where you want it to go, right? Like
put it on the board.
Udipana. It's talked about in the Nectar Devotion. And so if you fill, if we fill our minds with that, then it'll just, our memory can be brought, our mind can be brought to the right place, like left and right all the time.
Yeah. It's like when we fill our mind with a spiritual subject matter, spiritual places. Oh, look at that river. Reminds me of the Yamuna River. Look at that hill. Reminds me of going downhill. When your brain is like that, then everything you see, you're seeing from a whole new vantage point, isn't it? Everything that you see. That's why people say that sometimes. They're like, oh, my child is my guru. Ever hear people say that? They're always saying stuff like that. Yeah. That doesn't mean your child teaches you how to wet the bed, you know? And it means that you're seeing, because of your spiritual inclinations or your imbibing of some type of truth, when you see something in your child and you pick out the truthful, what am I saying? You see something in your child, you're like, yeah, that resonates with, I lost my whole train of thought here.
It makes you think of Krishna when you see little Tarun running around doing
No, that's not what I was saying.
All right, trying to help you here.
I hit a wall.
Okay, no problem.
Hit a wall. That's all right. I can hit walls.
Okay, let's go right back to the Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Right?
We're going back.
Go back.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff was trying to help me out there. Jeff was.
Okay, so we got the western side was the other, no.
Talking through the ear.
The northern side was the other ear, the left ear. On the western side was a gate named Asuri. Through that gate, King Puranjana used to go to the city of Gramaka, accompanied by his friend Durmada. And I believe this is referring to the generative organ.
Yep.
Text 53. Another gate on the western side was known as Niriti. Puranjana used to go...
By the way, those lower gates, all sexual. All sexual. That's what it says here. Lower gates, all sexual. I know. Sometimes you got to just stir shit up. Excuse me. I say that just.
I think we're on the rectum right now.
I say that because as far as men goes, as far as man, when I say man, I'm not just speaking like mankind or like a fireman. I'm talking about the man, the gender of men. If a man, because men live in their lower chakras. It's where they go. And if they can actually get out of there and come above it, they can become very powerful. And if they can't, they remain practically like children or animals.
Slaves, complete slaves. Men in this room, do you agree with me? You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to. There's no pressure. Do you agree with me? Harry, okay. It's true. Unless you can overcome the lower chakras. And women have no clue what I'm talking about here. They're like, well, yeah, you know, it's the same for both of us. No, it's not. No, it's not. And women are like in this room right now is going, no, we're pretty much the same. We're not. If you only knew what you're dealing with, who you're living with. We are a mess. All the guys are like humiliated and laughing. And the women are like, no, you don't know mine. He's different. You don't know mine. But the majority of them are not addicted to porn.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's... All right, I'm going to have this. I'm going to use the same analogy again. If a man got on what street are we on? Passyunk Boulevard. If a guy got in the middle of the street, Passyunk Boulevard, and said, I'm available for sex. I'm available for sex. Who wants to have sex with me? The police would be like, people would be calling the police. Everyone would be freaked out. Women would be crossing the road.
Where did you come up with this?
It's a good analogy, actually.
It works. It works.
Listen up. If a woman said that, every creepy guy would be there.
Even non-creepy guys would be there.
Yeah, even the guys you think are not creepy. It's just different. It's okay. It's not like women are like angels. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all women are angels and all men are addicted to porn. I'm just saying women got their own issues. It's the head and the heart. That's their thing. If they can work on this stuff, they become very high. Men are just dealing. They were just like, we're living in the basement. And shocked. I'm a man. I can say that. I don't think I'm just projecting my own brain. I just know how guys talk. They're gross. They're grotesque. Hang out with normal guys who are not on a spiritual path. They're gross. Even like good, respectable guys, they're all grotesque. They're gross.
Okay. Got it.
Every guy is like, yeah, we are. We know. We're trying. That's why we're on the show here now.
All right. Back to the rectum. Another gate on the western side was known as Niriti. Puranjana used to
My
go...
hashtag today is guys are gross. Okay. Oh, Mohan's got a good one. Basement dwellers.
That works. Puranjana used to go through this gate to the place known as Vaishasa, accompanied by his friend Lubdhaka. Okay. Of the many inhabitants of this city, there are two persons named Nirvak and Peshakrit. Although King Puranjana was the ruler of citizens who possessed eyes, he unfortunately used to associate with these blind men. These are the arms and the legs. Accompanied by them, he used to go here and there and perform various activities. So basically, this is just a soul in a machine, and it's got its...
For those, you might want to give a very, very brief update of what this whole...
Let's do it. Let's finish.
I gave out the number to a lot of people yesterday. I think a lot of people are
like, what is
talking about?
So let's finish up
the rectum, the gates.
Yeah.
You want to just give a quick overview?
I want to finish this up because we've got like one more verse to do with this,
okay.
and then let's do that.
It's the Rectum Show with Kaustubha Dawson.
Sometimes he used to go to his private home with one of his chief servants, the mind. I think the private home here may be like the heart, who was named Visuchina. At that time, illusion, satisfaction, and happiness, which I believe refer to the three modes of material nature: illusion to the mode of ignorance, satisfaction, which in my mind is a little bit, it can be a misleading way to translate it, but illusion, satisfaction, happiness, mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of goodness, used to be produced from his wife and children. So his wife in here, in this case, was the mind, right? So he somewhere internally, he's connecting with the mind, which is colored by the different modes. And sometimes he's feeling happy. Sometimes he's an illusion. Sometimes he's content. Sometimes he's not. Being thus entangled in different types of mental concoction. And this is the point. And engaged in fruitive activities. King Puranjan came completely under the control of material intelligence and was thus cheated. Indeed, he used to fulfill all the desires of his wife, the queen. So in other words, the mind has demands. Okay, let's break it down now, okay? You ready, Raghu?
Yeah. Break it down.
So what's happening here is there's this King Puranjana and this great, it's someone that we should talk about more, Narada. Let's not do it now, but Narada, who's a very important figure in many places in the Bhagavatam, arrives and he's given him some instruction. And this instruction it's related to what we call Samkhya philosophy, where you break down all the material elements and how the soul is separate from those material elements. And it helps one move towards self-realization, to not identify with the body. And then particularly here, what's being shared is to not identify with the mind. And he's expressed this philosophy rather than just saying it straight out. He's expressed it through this allegorical story about this king. Now, what I would say is if Narada were around today, there'd be another way to do it. And that would be using computer technology, right? that the soul is the user, that the computer is the mind, that the microphone is the ears, that the camera is the eyes, that the speaker is the voice, and etc. You could break it down like that. You could do the same thing right now with like a computer allegory. And I think it's more helpful for us, you know, like it's simpler for us. And so what he's saying, and so this is real important. Everyone should be familiar with this word samskaras, right? Samskaras. So samskara.
I call it like a scar a scar in the mind.
Yeah. Okay. Samskara.
Some scar. He's got some scar.
He's got some scars in his mind. So it means an impression is it's an impression made in the mind. That what the yoga philosophy is going to teach us is that everything that comes through the senses, every sight, every sound, every tactile experience, etc., it leaves a mark on the mind. It's registered there. Some of these impressions are very deep and they have very, repercussions to them. You know, they leave very deep impressions that affect us for the rest of our lives. And some of them are rather inconsequential and, you know, they're not very deep. They're not so important. But everything leaves its mark. So now this is where it gets really interesting. There's a part of the mind called the manas, right? There's three parts of the mind. The manas, which means we could say the impulsive part of the mind. The ahankara, which means the ego or the sense of identity or false sense of identity. Who am I? And then there's something called the buddhi, which means the intellect or the reasoning part of the mind, where judgment and discernment and all that take place. But this part of the mind called the manas is pretty fascinating when we think about it. And the idea is that through what's come through our senses, some scars have been impressed in our mind, and they've registered that this is favorable and this is unfavorable. This is attractive, this is unattractive. This will bring you happiness. In the most fundamental way, we can say it like this: by connecting with this, you'll find happiness. Or by connecting with this, you'll find some kind of dissatisfaction, right? And that's been plugged into our mind. Now, there's no truth to any of this because real happiness is an internal experience. But the mind's been programmed through its experience to say, this form will give you, touch this and you'll feel good. You know, touch this and that's not going to do anything for you, right? Eat this and you're going to feel happy, right? Eat this and you won't. This actually
fabricated in the mind.
That's great. It's just programming that has no. So just like we could program a computer to respond, like this is the analogy I always use, that if we had a computer with a camera and a speaker, and we programmed the computer, then that's analogous to the samskars, downloading information. If we program the computer to respond to a red light by saying I don't like red, and a blue light by saying I like blue, it can do that. And or we could flip it the other way and it could say the exact opposite, because there's no truth. It's not that red is good and blue is bad. It's just that the computer's been to respond to it as if one was good and one was bad. So the yogis are telling us that our minds are programmed to think that hourglass figure of that woman, that is where all happiness lies. And, you know, in that woman with another shape, there's no satisfaction could be derived there. You know, some people eat insects in some countries and they just gobble it down like we eat some potato chips. When I get a fried cricket, oh, delicious. This is going to be so satisfying, right? And someone else, their mind's been programmed in a different way.
Here's an example. Some guys will be like, or girls, I love blondes. I love blondes. Blondes. When I see a blonde, how much pleasure are you going to get from a blonde hair as opposed to black hair, as opposed to brown hair? Like, how will you derive your pleasure from that color? Like, okay, there it is. Do what you will do with it. Here it is. Here's a wig. Here's a blonde wig. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do? How are you going to extract pleasure from that blonde? It's actually just concocted in your mind. And that's why, and we each have a mind that's almost been carved out by our karma to have likes and dislikes. And that's why a centipede is like madly attracted to a female centipede, a male centipede. Is madly attracted to a female centipede.
How do you know that?
because I know they're
You're
mating.
guessing.
They're always
Okay.
mating.
All right. Is that a memory from your previous life?
Yeah. My point is that in this life, I'm not attracted to centipedes because my brain was carved a different way. It was carved in a different way. And just, all right, go on. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The
And it's a
whole
good point.
concept of lust or karma, and when I say that, it doesn't mean just sexual. It means any type of lust. It means I will enjoy that. I will enjoy that. But it's not in the tangible extracting of the pleasure from it. It's just like a hope. So when we have these things that are in the mode of passion, it's just like a hope to enjoy. Okay, enjoy it. It was so funny. I remember being a brahmachari, and for like it was like a year and a half in. You know, for like a 22-year-old being celibate a year and a half in, that's freaking doing time.
Were you marking the days off on your wall?
Yeah. And I remember coming to New York City and visiting Madan Mohan. And Madan Mohan, a lot of you know, he's a good friend of ours.
Great guy.
We joined the temple on the same day. He's a couple years younger than me. And he was also sort of from the punk hardcore scene. We all sort of like knew each other a little. Did you know him before?
Yeah, we're friends.
Okay.
Him and Roy. You know, Roy was his best friend. Roy was my roommate.
Yeah, he was a little crazy, wasn't he?
He's my friend you're talking about there.
I know. It doesn't make him not crazy.
Yeah, most of my friends were crazy, actually. Still are.
How did you escape alive? How come you're not so crazy?
I guess I'm crazy too.
You're not, though. You're
No,
quite sane. You're probably one of the more sane people I know. Anyway, so Madonna came home from came to New York City from being a monk, and I went to the Brooklyn Temple, and that's where Madan, who had been monk equally as long as I was, and he was always very sagacious, like he is now, if you know him. He's like a sage.
Sagacious, good word, Raghunath.
Good word, right? Write that down. He was very sagacious, and I went to him. You could tell I was just like frustrated as a brahmachari. And I just went up to him. I go, and we haven't seen each other. Whenever we see each other, we always have these like nice meetings. And I would just go, I just want to enjoy the material world. And he goes, his answer was very beautiful, in a very calm pace. He goes, just try to do it. And if you figure it out, let me know how to do it. Isn't that a good answer? Like, do it. Try to enjoy it. What are you going to enjoy? I was like, no, I'm going to just go out there. And he's like, go. Try to enjoy the material world. Good luck. That's what happens.
You can't control the waves.
You can't control the waves. The material world is sort of like you have a whole plan to enjoy it. It just falls flat. Because most of our concept of enjoyment is mental.
It's all mental.
Friday night!
So
it's all romance. It's just concocted.
And that's the point. If we can think of it in terms of the computer analogy, that the computer can be programmed to respond this way or that way, but there's no truth to it. It's not that red is good and blue is bad. And similarly, all the forms and the shapes and the colors and the tastes and all of that, we've been programmed to find some attractive and others unattractive. But this is the thing, is that we follow it from the minute that we wake up in the morning to the minute that we lie down and go to bed at night. We follow that programming as if it was truth, and that happiness lies in connecting with what our mind has been programmed to accept. Now, the yogis are saying it's not like that. The yogis are saying that the real lasting, steady, deep happiness is your nature. It's inside you. You need to connect with that. But as long as you're chasing it outside, you will never, ever get there. You'll never get there. So yoga means controlling the mind. And there are different ways that people control the mind. But here, Narada is just trying to help the king understand, you have been controlled by your mind.
Mm.
All the programming in your mind, you have accepted it as if it's real, and therefore you're doing all of these fruitive sacrifices and stuff so that you can enjoy more in life, more wealth, more beauty, more sex, more longer life, more fame, that you think happiness lies there, but you're still dissatisfied because you've become controlled by your mind. You're accepting that all of that is true, and you're lost. You need to learn to go within. Right?
Got it.
So I think the chapter is going to kind of wrap up on this theme. Why don't I read through these verses? And text 56 said, being thus entangled in different types of mental concoction or programming and engaged in fruitive activities, responding to that programming as if it was true, King Puranjana came completely under the control of his material intelligence and was thus cheated, right? We have this opportunity in human life to do so much with it, but we're just following this false programming. We're cheated. Indeed, he used to fulfill all the desires of his wife, the queen. We spend our whole time just trying to satisfy the mind's programming. And so he's become a slave to his mind and senses. Like that. The senses are just the attachments to the mind, you know, the what do we call these things? Plug-in devices and all of that. Mm. Okay, so now there's going to be a string of verses where it just talks about just how controlled he is. When the queen, and of course,
are you going to condense them, or are we going to?
I'm just going to zip through it. Okay. But here the queen means his mind, his intelligence, or his mind. Okay. When the queen drank liquor, King Puranjana also engaged in drinking. When the queen dined, he used to dine with her. And when she chewed, King Puranjana used to chew along with her.
I don't understand this.
He's saying that the mind wants to engage, the mind, the senses are connected to the mind, and they're saying, eat this food.
And then he eats it. Okay. It means
so
the soul, the self becomes a slave to everything the mind demands. I got it.
If you want to eat, I'm going to go right there with you. You know, I want that bar of chocolate. Oh, here I come. I'm coming along with you. I'm convinced that we'll find happiness this way.
Right. I mean, I do this when I go on a fast. I go on a fast for 7 days or something like that. And sure enough, my mind has me walking to the refrigerator. I'm not eating anything. And I'm opening the refrigerator. I'm looking up and down the refrigerator. And it's like, wait a second. What is pulling me? It is like my senses and my mind are pulling me to this big ice box, and I know in my head I can't eat any of it.
Right.
It's like we're slaves to this mind and senses.
And that's where the purified intelligence has to kick in and say, hold it, that's not what I want to do.
Right. And you check yourself in. Okay, well, no, I can't do that. So the difference between this purified mind, the self, and the horses dragging the chariot, so to speak. Drag.
Kata Upanishad analogy. Okay, so when the queen sang, he also sang. Similarly, when the queen cried, he also cried. You know, he's enjoying his suffering. I'm singing 1 minute, crying the next. Hasn't learned to surf.
Right. And this is like the whole yoga thing of like holding your yoga pose, breathing, and you're like, I don't want to be here. You know, we say, sometimes you're holding that yoga pose. We don't want to be here. It's excruciating, and my mind just starts complaining. And I have an opportunity to sort of like be there with my mind complaining, or I can have the opportunity to step back from my mind and just deal with it. And we
separate yourself from your mind.
Yeah. The good yoga teacher is leading you out of your mind. Stop all the bitchiness of my mind, the complaininess of my mind. And you're just going to tolerate and don't even live there. Give it no power except if it endorses one of your intelligent choices. There's an intelligent choice, and then there's a whimsical choice.
You know what the discipline of the monk is?
What?
You go straight from clear intelligence to action without putting it through the filter of the manas. Well, is this going to be fun? Is it going to be comfortable? Is it going to be nice? No, it's right, so I'm just doing it, right?
Yeah.
You know, the alarm goes off at 2:30 a.m. You just jump out of bed without thinking, I have to get up now. That's, you know.
That's what snooze Davy is.
Yeah, that's right. Snooze Davy is like, that's the mind just saying, hey,
Snooze Davy is the mind. It's like, oh, come on. You know, you just need a little bit more. You deserve it. After all, 6 hours of sleep. You need your sleep. Sleep is healthy. You know, so it's like, no, I should get up. Kaustubha's waiting for me. And you just live in there and you're rolling around. And you try to I did that yesterday too. I tried to re-enter. No, I had a dream. I was in Mathura. That was my dream.
You got the best dreams.
I was a dream. I was in Mathura, and it was beautiful. It was like precious.
Really?
Yeah. It was very cool.
That's because you put in all those good samskars. into your mind, through the ears, through the eyes. Okay, ready?
Close my eyes before I go to bed. I think of sweet baby Krishna. That's my last.
That's how you're doing it. That's how you're doing it.
That's going to save me.
When the queen sang, he also sang. Similarly, when the queen cried, he cried. And when the queen laughed, he also laughed. When the queen talked loosely, he also talked loosely.
Loosely.
Couldn't control his mouth anymore, right? And when the queen walked, the king walked behind her. When the queen would stand still, the king would also stand still. And when the queen would lie down in the bed, he would also follow and lie down with her. When the queen sat, he would also sit. When the queen heard something, he would follow to hear the same thing. When the queen saw something, the king would also look at it. And when the queen smelled something, so all the senses connected to the mind, he would follow her to smell the same thing. When the queen touched something, the king would also touch it. And when the dear queen was lamenting, the poor king also had to follow her into lamentation. In the same way, when the queen felt enjoyment, he also enjoyed. And when the queen was satisfied, the king also felt satisfied. So he's become a slave. And the analogy is that we all become slaves to our mind. Right?
Yep.
We follow the programming.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Yoga means getting free, freeing oneself from the control of the mind. Final texts of this chapter. In this way, King Puranjana was captivated by his nice wife and was thus cheated. And cheated of what? The opportunity as a human being to practice yoga and free oneself, reconnect with one's true divine nature, experience Satchit Ananda, deep spiritual happiness. So he was cheated. He became cheated. Indeed, he became cheated in his whole existence in the material world. Even against that poor, foolish king's desire, he remained under the control of his wife, just like a pet animal that dances according to the order of its master.
I give a good example.
All right.
I'll give a good example. I was on tour once with a band, and the band became a pretty famous band. I don't want to mention the band name, but the singer of the band, super cool guy, the singer of the band, but he was very beautiful guy. He was just like a beautiful man. Ever see a beautiful man, even heterosexual man? You ever seen a beautiful man who walks in the room, you're like, that guy's freaking beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like, there's some men are just like breathtaking to look at.
Who is so beautiful to you?
This thing is getting too big now. It's got to get back to them somehow.
It's gonna go viral. Raghu's attracted.
It was sort of a punky band, but they became very mainstream. But anyway, he confided with me because he knew we were like into bhakti and yoga and all this stuff, and he confided with me. He goes, I can't stop having sex. I can't. And I hate it. But and he was like, I think he was confiding me as a singer. And he's like, girls just throw themselves at us. I was like, well, they don't throw themselves at me. But it's like, I think we're having different experiences. But I tried to play cool, like, yeah, they do. Oh, yeah. I understand what you're going through. You got to be disciplined. I was like, ooh.
Where are these girls?
Where are these girls? I must be missing them.
Can I join your band?
And so he was just like, he goes, and I hate it. I hate it because I always feel miserable afterwards, but it's as if I can't stop myself. It's becoming a slave to your senses, and there's no pleasure there. And it's exactly what you're describing. And you're like, what was the thing you said? And thus he I can't remember. You said wasted his life from whatever. And so we all have, whatever it is, we all have that addiction in the material world. It may not be opposite sex or girls or whatever. We have something that is just pulling us away from being connected.
He said it was just like a pet animal that dances according to the order of its master.
We're all imagining pet animals. Like I'm imagining a little dog.
So sometimes I share that thought. I may have shared it here before, but when I was 15, I started hanging out on the Lower East Side. I would hit the streets. And because you're 15 years old, you're kind of making decisions of your own for your first time. You feel free.
Oh yeah.
And it was it felt like such a free world, Like everything was opening up.
It was. Those were the good old days.
Man, what happened?
What happened to old New York?
I wish I could go back. But I felt so free. But really, I look back now, I was just a dancing animal. I was like a
Just
pet
dancing
animal.
dogs.
Following my mind and senses like crazy, you know? It wasn't freedom.
It's not free at all.
Sometimes we look back at that and we think, oh my God, it was so great. But if you could really filter through it all, you would see, no, it was full of all kinds of junk, you know?
All kinds of miseries, all kind of like bumping into walls, so to
All
speak.
kind of anxieties.
All kinds of anxieties, all kinds of danger. All types of danger.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of these things like a yogi should really what's beautiful about understanding the gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, is it's not even like a spiritual thing. It is like a way to just like a lens to view the material world. And if you can stay in sattva, it's quite simple. If you can stay in a sattvic life, you'll be happy. If you want to be happy, become sattvic. If you want to be confused, lost, and you could even think you're free. It's not like a heroin addict doesn't think he's completely free. It's not like a heroin addict is not thinking, I'm making all these choices myself. He's making no choices himself. He's a complete slave to the body and the mind and the senses. And you try to even offer the addict something good and healthy, they're going to be like, no, not interested, man. I just want heroin. Really? You want heroin? Yep. You want the very thing. You just lost your whole family. You lost your career. You lost your wife. They're taking away your home. You're living on the streets. You're skinny. Your clothes don't fit you. You're a mess. Come on. Your teeth are falling out. Come on. Yeah, I want the heroin. They're going to want the very thing that's killing them. It's not free will. It's addiction. That's what happens in the material world. When we're living in rajas and tamas, we're addicted to the very things that are killing us. It's not free will. It's like we become slaves. And if we want freedom in this world, it's actually got nothing to do with the government. Isn't that crazy? It's got nothing to do with the government. It's got to do with us and making a choice right now. It's got nothing to do with I keep calling them the paparazzi. What's the 1%? It's nothing to do with the Illuminati. They're not holding you back.
Paparazzi.
It has nothing to do with the Illuminati or the paparazzi.
Neither of them.
Or the rigatoni.
Rogu, we're out of time.
Where's my Mara? Come on, Damodar, you're my Mara.
And look at my new friend there, Stacy Wood in Belize on the beach.
I saw her. I saw who was that? Lauren shoveling manure, and then I saw her on the beach. Like, what lives we live.
And we can be happy in either circumstance.
It's according on your like she could be miserable right now. But she's not looking miserable. She's looking quite blissful, actually.
Yeah. It's because she's plugged into Bhagavatam, though. It's not the beach. It's the Bhagavatam. Yeah, you see?
Yeah, I love watching the Bhagavatam and seeing everybody do their thing. We had Liam was scrubbing a pot. We have some romantic couples there watching. Some people are just going for some adventure, walking around. Sean Murphy's generally driving, putting other drivers at high risk. Driving an 18-wheeler, watching the show.
Hey, you know what's my days looks like today, Raghu?
What are you doing?
In about an hour, I got Vaisheshika Prabhu coming to my home to visit me.
You're kidding.
So nice, right?
You live, man.
Great, great soul. And then after that, I have lunch with Raghunath Swami.
The life he lives. I'm getting a tattoo from Scott Bakos.
What are you getting?
I'm not telling you.
It's a Misfit song lyric?
No, it's not a Misfit song. Is that Eric Noble?
Misfit skull logo?
Eric Noble on a treadmill. I'm not telling you. You have to wait till see it. It's just for my ego, though. To be honest.
Okay.
I just want people to like me.
We'd like you, Raghu.
I think there's Scott right now.
Without
me.
I only like you better without the tattoos.
I only get. Uh-oh. Here we go. Vrindavan Bihara Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Bo Vrindavan Dham ki, Nam Sankirtan ki, Rantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Palo Santo Dham ki, all you Zoomers ki, Haribo.
I want to focus on surfing today. We got to learn to surf.
Surfing the waves, the material life.
Take away from today.
Yeah. the takeaway of today, men are gross. That was one of them.
That's another one. Okay.
Let's see. That was a big one, I think. Something about Scientology. It's a lot of Scientology stuff there. Udipan, that was pretty good. It reminds me of that South Indian dish. What's it called? Uttapan. Uttapam and Udipan, two different things. One is quite delicious and one is spiritually enhancing. Anything you want to add, Damodar Prabhu?
What time? I would say, what time are we tomorrow? We on.
What time are we tomorrow? You know, it's going to be weird tomorrow. I'm teaching till 6, and then I have to pick up I got to pick up a counter, a thing at IKEA. That's my life. That's my life. Got to go to IKEA and check in with IKEA and pick up like a little thing.
It's not so bad, Ragu. Just let it go. Just go with it. Surf with it.
Surf it. I got to surf it. Yes.
And
Yes. And they've got vegan meatballs.
So what time are we meeting tomorrow?
So then I have to drive home. And I will tell you, I am the worst night driver of them all. I start seeing things on the road, people waving to me. I stick my head out the window, I don't lick my face, put my head out the window. Real gross moochy things.
Sooner or later, you're going to answer my question here.
So what time? It depends. If I pull over and sleep and end up in Newburgh on the side of the road, it might be, you're going to have to, that's why, be present. Stop trying to make plans in the material
world. If you just
world.
want to tell me to surf, then just tell me to surf.
Just surf it. If I get there, if I get home, if I get some sleep, I'll be there by 5. If not, 6. Let's not do it later than 6. It's a crazy week tomorrow. And then I got to do those shows Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're playing, Shelter's doing a reunion in Brooklyn at St. Vitus. And we're staying with Kalpa Vriksha. My kids are coming. Bring my 3 little kids.
In Jersey.
In St. Vitus in Brooklyn. And then we're going to Jersey to do some show. And I'm doing a free class about like how we started Bhakti in the punk scene.
Where?
I'm doing that at the Central New Jersey ISKCON Temple.
Okay.
Never been there. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be like a 99.9% Indian audience. It should be interesting.
No, there's tons of punk. The whole show will show up at
I guess so. Okay.
Yeah. I'll talk to the Indians. I love Indians.
I do too. I just think it's a unique blend, you know?
It is a unique blend. Indians are cool.
They would be like, could we hear your music?
They don't understand. It's true. They don't. Right? Where's Aditi today?
She was here. There she is.
Okay.
I'm here.
Aditi, we got to talk to you. No. All right, everybody.
Haribo, Prabhu.
Haribo. What a great morning.
Go spread the good word of baby Krishna.
Yeah, sweet baby Krishna. Thanks, Louie.
Oh, brother.
Offer my love, Kaustubha, to your transcendental guest today.
Will do.
Okay. Haribo.
Bye, Raghu.